Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Tuesday, October 27, 2020. Fox report. Girlfriend of man fatally wounded in Chicago area police shooting accuses cops of letting him die. The girlfriend of the man shot and killed during a police traffic stop in a Chicago area city last week said Tuesday that Waukegan police let her boyfriend die after they opened fire at the car she was driving. Tafara Williams, 20, spoke from her Illinois hospital bed where she has been recovering since the October 20 shooting in Waukegan, which is roughly 40 miles north of Chicago. She was driving and her boyfriend, 19-year-old Marcelli Stinnette, was in the passenger seat when they were shot during a traffic stop, while both were seated inside the vehicle, officials have previously said.
Deutsche Welle report. Coronavirus Digest. FIFA's Gianni Infantino tests positive for COVID-19. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has contracted COVID-19, football's global governing body said on Tuesday. The 50-year-old Swiss national is experiencing mild symptoms and will self-isolate for at least the next 10 days, FIFA said in a statement. Those who have come in contact with Infantino over the past few days had been informed about the situation so they could take the necessary steps. Although Infantino has limited his travel due to the pandemic, he did attend a ceremony at the White House in Washington last month to mark the normalization of relations between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain.
BBC report. Donald Trump setback in rape defamation case. Columnist E. Jean Carroll accuses Mr. Trump of assaulting her in a Manhattan department store in the 1990s. In a lawsuit, she argues the president defamed her when he denied her claim and said she was totally lying. The DOJ had sought to put itself in the dock as defendant, instead of Mr. Trump. Citing a law designed to protect federal employees from being sued over actions stemming from the performance of their duties, the department argued that he was serving in his capacity as president when he denied Ms. Carroll's allegation.
Fox report. Trump calls on NYPD to reinstate suspended Trump 2020 cop, let New York's finest finally do their job. President Trump on Tuesday called on NYPD brass to allow the officer who was suspended for blaring Trump 2020 from his patrol car loudspeaker to return to work. Let New York's finest finally do their job. The president said in one of a series of posts that linked to the Sergeants Benevolent Association. Trump linked to the Police Benevolent Association, which endorsed the president in August, that noted the level of violence in the Big Apple.
CNN report. Over 4,400 pounds of Trader Joe's fish have been recalled. Orca Bay Foods is recalling more than 350 cases of Trader Joe's brand gluten-free battered halibut because the fish were packaged without listing milk or wheat as allergens. So far, there have been no illnesses reported. People who have an allergy or severe sensitivity to wheat and milk run the risk of serious or life-threatening allergic reaction if they consume this product, Seattle-based Orca Bay said in an announcement via the Food and Drug Administration.
Deutsche Welle report. Belgium's former king meets lovechild Princess Delphine for first time. Belgium's former King Albert has met his daughter Princess Delphine after a 7-year legal battle over whether she really was his daughter. Albert admitted paternity in January after taking a DNA test that he had initially resisted. Judges had threatened the 86-year-old with fines of €5,000 $5,900 a day unless he agreed to take the test. A Brussels court ruled earlier this month that Delphine, 52, should enjoy the same rights and titles as her father's children by his marriage.
Deutsche Welle report. Coronavirus. Merkel urges discipline as Germany mulls tougher restrictions. Chancellor Angela Merkel on Tuesday urged Germans to stick to what we know about the coronavirus as the country battles a second wave of infections. We know how we can protect ourselves. We can proceed with a more targeted response, she said in Berlin. But we also see with the rising numbers that if we do not stick to what we know about the virus, we get ourselves back into situations that are decidedly difficult.
Al Jazeera report. 2 children among 4 dead after boat sinks in English Channel. 4 people, including 2 children, have died after the small boat in which they had set out from France to try and reach the United Kingdom capsized in the English Channel, according to French officials. 1 man drowned when the boat sank on Tuesday morning, while a woman and 2 children aged 5 and 8 died after they were pulled from the water alive with 14 other people, the local authority of the Nord department said.
CNN report. Frustration mounts with Meadows' leadership amid pandemic handling. Trump aides are voicing concerns with Mark Meadows 1 week before the election after the White House chief of staff, in a stunning exchange Sunday with CNN's Jake Tapper, said, "We are not going to control the pandemic." A Trump campaign advisor said there is widespread frustration with Meadows, Trump's fourth chief of staff, over his comments, as well as his leadership more broadly. Everyone was clear that Meadows sh*** the bed again, the advisor said.
Al Jazeera report. AMD and Xilinx, pandemic disruptions fuel another mega chip deal. Advanced Micro Devices is buying Xilinx for $35 billion in an all-stock deal that will combine the two Silicon Valley chipmakers and accelerate an already rapid-fire pace of mergers and buyouts in the industry. The deal announced on Tuesday puts AMD in a place it wants to be, competing more fiercely with Intel at a time when a global pandemic is driving demand for tech ever higher. More Zoom meetings, more orders online and more upgrades for companies trying to meet new demands of millions staying at home have led to a seemingly insatiable appetite for computer chips.
Al Jazeera report. Nearly 6,000 civilian casualties in Afghanistan so far this year. Nearly 6,000 Afghan civilians were killed or wounded in the first 9 months of the year as heavy fighting between government forces and Taliban fighters rages on despite efforts to find peace, the United Nations has said. From January to September, there were 5,939 civilian casualties in the fighting, 2,117 people killed and 3,822 wounded, the UN Assistance Mission in Afghanistan (UNAMA) said in a quarterly report on Tuesday.
BBC report. Nigeria police brutality inquiry hears graphic testimony. Okoye Agu was detained after his boss accused him of stealing from work. The inquiry in Lagos State was formed in the wake of nationwide protests calling for an end to SARS. It may also look into the shooting at protests last week in which rights groups say 12 people were killed. In his testimony, Mr. Agu said that in 2014 he was beaten, paraded in public as a criminal, suspended upside down and had 2 of his teeth pulled out.
BBC report. Hong Kong activist Tony Chung detained near U.S. Embassy. Tony Chung had planned to enter the embassy on Tuesday and claim asylum, the UK-based activist group Friends of Hong Kong said. He was arrested along with 2 other former members of a student pro-independence group. Mr. Chung, 19, was the first public figure arrested under a controversial new national security law in July. He was accused of being involved in an organization that vowed to fight for an independent Hong Kong and later released on bail.
CNN report. Biden is closing his campaign as he began it by telling voters, "Soul of the nation is at stake." Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is ending the 2020 race as he began it, arguing that the soul of the nation is at stake and that he would seek to heal a country fractured by Donald Trump's presidency. 1 week from Election Day, Biden delivered a speech in Georgia that his aides billed as the former vice president's closing argument. The speech took place in Warm Springs, the home of Franklin D.
Fox report. Las Vegas cops make arrest after bicyclist killed by man hanging out of minivan. Las Vegas police have made an arrest in the case of the bicyclist pushed to her death by a man hanging out of a minivan who also died. Police said Rodrigo Cruz, 22, was the minivan's driver. He was taken into custody Monday, a day after the incident. The person who struck the bicyclist as he was hanging out of Cruz's vehicle was identified as Gio, Fox 5 Las Vegas reported. Gio died after falling out of the minivan and striking his head on a lamppost.
Fox report. Italy protests over latest coronavirus crackdowns turn violent. Protesters turned out by the hundreds in Turin, Milan and other Italian cities and towns Monday to vent their anger, sometimes violently, at the latest pandemic restrictions that force restaurants and cafes to close early and shutter cinemas, gyms and other leisure venues. In the northern city of Turin, some demonstrators broke off from a peaceful protest, smashing store windows on an elegant shopping street, setting smoke bombs and hurling bottles at police in a main city square where the Piedmont regional government is headquartered, Rai State TV said.
CNN report. Where taking time off isn't optional. Editor's note. A version of this story appeared in CNN's Work Transformed newsletter. To get it in your inbox, sign up for free. Here, forget unlimited paid time off. Some companies are instituting mandatory paid time off instead. While unlimited vacation days sound good on paper, Several companies have discovered such policies often cause workers to take less time off than they would with a more traditional vacation policy.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.